Detroit about 6 or 7 p.m. tonight, packing high winds, heavy rains, and hundreds of lightning strikes. At this point, no reports of injuries or deaths, but the storms were frightening and destructive, knocking out power to thousands of families. TV2's Tamara Iwerks begins our team coverage of tonight's severe weather. Tamara tracked the storms through Oakland County.
A violent storm rumbles across Oakland County, ripping down trees and telephone lines and knocking out power. Police and firefighters race to keep pace with the incoming calls for help. In Farmington Hills, funnel clouds were sighted at 12 Mile and Orchard Lake Roads and 13 Mile in Franklin. They never touched down, but the winds packed a wallop.
Very strong wind. Limbs were coming down. In fact, a couple actually hit my car, smaller ones, luckily. And it seems to be that the damage is all over the city. It's not just local in this corner of the city, in the northwest corner.
A bolt of lightning sent this tree crashing down on top of power lines and through the windshield of that car. 2 people inside were hurt. It was rough and tumble on the road. Power outages made driving through intersections dangerous. The lightning show electrified motorists.
It was scary. It scared my mom. She's in the car over there. And it was just so much. We even saw some things in Southfield that were torn down because of the lightning.
The storm was explosive, but not deadly. There are no reports of serious damage or injury, but it gave residents a big scare and an even bigger mess to clean up. In Southfield, Tamara Iwerks, TV2, Eyewitness News, primetime. This is Amy Jacobson in Wayne County. Strong winds, heavy rains, and even hail forced fans inside Tiger Stadium. The lightning show around the city of Detroit had almost everyone running for cover. Detroit West Sider Brian Woodward says a tornado ripped through his backyard, flinging this fence into the air and knocking over this tree.
We went directly for the basement, and we were all 4 down the basement within a minute. So,
did you hear anything?
We heard a crash, and I turned around, saw the fence going around and the air, and we were down the basement before we knew it.
Throughout Wayne County, motorists battled rising waters on Southfield underneath the Joy Road overpass. Non-functioning traffic lights, downed power lines, and trees that toppled onto homes were left in the storm's wake. Were you scared?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went on the floor. I jumped on the floor, went under my bed.
Moments after the storm hit, residents began quickly cleaning up the debris, fortunate that the storm wasn't worse. People like Ann Sherman, who is holding on tight to her 11-week-old son.
I was inside nursing him, and I heard a big strike, but I thought it was on a tree across the street. And we went down in the basement because the tornado sirens were going off. And after it started to let up a little bit, my husband came out to look at the damage and realized our whole chimney had come down across the house.
Next time, Sherman says she'll play it safe and seek shelter in the basement. On Detroit's west side, Amy Jacobson, TV2, Eyewitness News, primetime.
Tonight, Detroit Edison telling TV2 that more than 200,000 homes and businesses are without power. Worst hit, Oakland County, where 65,000 customers are in the dark tonight. In all, 1,000 power lines are down throughout southeastern Michigan. Now, if you see a downed power line, don't touch it. Call Detroit Edison. They've got a special hotline. It's 1-800-477-4747. That number again for downed power lines is 1-800-477-4747. And please be sure to keep children away from those wires because they can be very dangerous, possibly fatal, and be sure that they don't touch the wires that are also touching metal because that can also be very deadly.
Just stay away from it. That is the
bottom
key.
line.
You know, once the storm swept through, there was just that eerie quiet. You know, no wind. It was really something to see.
It was, and also the sunset this evening.
Yeah.
Quite unusual. Really weird colors. It was just the sun reflecting off the clouds. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about anymore. Let's take a look, though, at how it looked earlier. Now, this, of course, the lightning. This is in West Bloomfield, and you can see some of the intense lightning strikes, and, of course, the thunder going along with that. Look at those flashes, and it got as dark as night. The sound was just terrible with hundreds of lightning strikes around the area. And, of course, with the lightning and the thunder, soon after came this significant windswept rain. 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds reported with these storms. It didn't last long, but it was quite nasty while it was around. And we can take a look back at the radar as this intense line of storms, starting about 1:30 this afternoon, was over Lake Michigan. It roared to the southeast over the state, feeding on 90-plus degree temperatures and very humid air. Sweeping to the south, it is now way on into Ohio. Some false returns. There's nothing going on around the metro area anymore. It's all off toward the southeast of us. As a matter of fact, at Metro Airport, It's quiet. It's fair. It's 72. At least the storm's cooled us down. A southerly wind with 90% humidity, and 0.4 of an inch of rain fell at Metro Airport, up to an inch in some areas. Now, we're talking about some quiet weather tonight. The rest of the night, partly cloudy. We're at the low temp with a southwest wind at 6 to 14. But, gentlemen, later in the newscast, we're going to talk about the hottest weather we've seen in a long time.
Thin and lightning strikes in and around Detroit. And a strike at Detroit's two daily papers erupts. There's a storm of anger on the picket line. Good evening. The big story tonight is a Detroit newspaper strike. Severe thunderstorms moved into our state. The storms rumbled down from north to south and seemed to save a lot of their punch for our area this evening. Night Beat's Ann Thompson is in a part of northwest Detroit right now that really took a wallop, Ann.
Mort, what a night it has been. 4,000 lightning strikes, winds of 60 miles an hour, knocking over trees like this one. And more than 200,000 Detroit Edison customers who at this hour are without power, in large part because of trees that have fallen on power lines. Creations of nature tonight felled by the forces of nature. It was a spectacular light and sound show in the air. But it had near disastrous results on the ground. Trees blocked roads from St. Clair Shores to northwest Detroit.
And I heard crack, and I looked, and I saw the white of the tree, and then I saw the green coming down, and that was it. Picked up and grabbed it way up top. It's about an 80-footer, 70-footer.
Weakened by carpenter ants, this great oak came crashing down, some of its branches resting on the roofs of two homes, the rest of it closing Detroit's Salem Street. Several blocks away, a similar picture in front of a home Eddie Page was renovating. What is damaged here?
You want to go upstairs and take a look?
Can we go inside and take a look? Okay. From the second floor window, you could look down on the fallen trees, which apparently only damaged the porch. The latest injury to a house with a checkered past.
January 1st, it caught on fire, and we've been rehabilitating the house ever since, trying to get it ready to rent. And we had it ready to rent, and now it's tore up again.
You feel like this house is cursed?
No, I just feel like it's just time to keep on fixing it. Getting it ready for someone to move in here special, like the Pope, maybe.
In weather like this, a sense of humor helps, especially if you're traveling on Telegraph at 12 Mile, where all the streetlights went out just as rush hour ended. No power meant a slower ride home for Oakland County commuters, and no business for this Denny's restaurant.
We had about 4 people actually ate their dinner. We served food in the dark. We lit a little candle. That's how it cooked the last good meals. And people ate, and they left.
But those 4 people were the last customers at Denny's, at least for a while. Denny's employees, all they could do was sort of stand outside because there was no power inside, no telephones, no air conditioning. So they stood outside, and the manager just counted his losses. As businesses in Southfield that were closed tonight by the power outages counted their losses, Detroit Edison at this hour is counting up its problems, and there are many. 1,000 power lines are down in the metro area. As I said, some 200,000 customers are without power. Detroit Edison says its crews will work through the night to restore power. However, they do warn you, if you have a down power line, to please stay away from that power line. Treat it as it is live, and then call Detroit Edison right away. They will get out there just as soon as possible, but do not go near that down power line. Mort, back to you.
Thanks, Ann. And given the enormity of the task, they may not get it done overnight, so Edison says its crews will work right through the weekend if they have to restore all the power. Carmen?
The storms that tore across our area also ripped through a big area north of us. There were reports of funnel clouds in the central lower peninsula, and they blasted the Flint area around 5 o'clock this evening. Just like what happened as the skies got dark early, lightning flashed, rain poured down in buckets, and the wind roared. Trees were down all over. This one hit a house and knocked over its chimney while a new mother and her baby were inside.
I was standing in the living room, and I seen the tree fall, and I ran in and got my daughter. She's 4 days old, and I took her in the basement. It was so scary. Then I kept trying to call, and the phone wouldn't work.
In rural areas, countless barns simply collapsed after the strong winds battered them. Some cars and trucks were crushed when large trees fell on top of them. Amazingly, there were only a few reports of serious injury, but tens of thousands of people in the Flint area are in the dark right now because the storms knocked out electricity.
Chuck Adica followed that strong and long line of storms for us during the news beat at 5 and at 6. He's in Weather Watch 4 right now.
Chuck, are we in the clear tonight?
Oh, we certainly are. The heat is still with us and the humidity, but the storms are long gone, and you can see over the past 24 hours what was coming our way. A complex of thunderstorms that developed first across the northern tier of states and then came right down across the Great Lakes and elongated. The most powerful punch was felt to the north of us around the Flint area, as you mentioned, into the Thumb. The storms actually weakened a bit as they moved through the metro area and then intensified a bit farther to the south. We still have the heat to contend with. The jet stream continues to bring us the warmer air from the south. Tomorrow it's going to get even hotter, as we'll see high temperatures well into the 90s, but there is some relief coming. In a few minutes, we'll have a Doppler's view of how much rain fell across the area, talk about the prospects for more rain and storms into the weekend, and also talk about cooler relief. One other little note, it's 73 degrees now. Keep in mind, tomorrow as we head into the 90s, Morton Carmen, the water temp at Belle Isle is 69. So with some affection, I tell you to go jump in the lake. Come on.
That may be the only way to cool off.
For once, I might take your advice.
That's right. All right.
See you in a bit. Well, the lakes and the rivers are full of boats this time of year, but what begins is
Any precipitation overnight, just warm and humid conditions. But lightning strikes were unbelievable tonight. This is the tail end of the storm. As it was rolling down to the Ohio border about 8 o'clock tonight, there were 832 strikes in just a half-hour period. So the electricity with this storm was unbelievable. If you think it was hot today, wait till tomorrow. I'll have that a little later. Back to you, Guy.
Thanks for the warning, Jim. We'll look forward to that. The fierce weather that rolled through town knocked out power to thousands of people in the metro area. According to Detroit Edison, 200,000 customers were thrown into the dark by 60-mile-an-hour winds. Crews are working overtime at this hour to restore power to those homes and businesses.
I know we certainly suffered through it.
Boy, we heard it too.
We went right off the air.
Yeah.